From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende. Riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast is Andre Johnson Jr. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, share, rate, review. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Get the notifications for when we drop that fire content each and every week. It is Thursday in the city of New Orleans. We have another podcast episode for you today. Episode 504?
503,
504.
504.
Like the area code in New Orleans.
Hey.
We are here inside the Fox 8 studios. Another episode, as we said, 504 for you today. Andre, how are you doing today on this Thursday? This is kind of your Friday, right? You have off on Fridays and Saturdays.
I'm off Saturday, so I'm feeling wonderful today. This is my last day of work this week. I can actually see the sun today, unlike all of those storms on Wednesday, so I'm feeling great.
Yeah, it's a good day. Been a good week or a decent week for us here at the station, and hopefully everybody's dried out and battling back from what was a tough day weather-wise yesterday in this region here in southeast Louisiana. Today, as promised, we were going to get into a podcast about the draft and about something we have never seen from the Saints or haven't seen from the Saints in a really, really, really long time. What are we talking about, Andre?
We are talking about the potential of trading back. Now, we've seen the Saints trade forward, trade up in the draft many times, but we've got 4 trade offers for you guys. Let us know what you think about it. Don't hesitate to comment down below. Tell us if you like it, if you don't like it, if you have something you have in mind, or even if it's just a question. We love those too. But Sean, first trade offer, what we got?
Yes, we're going to get right into this first trade offer here. Again, we promised we were going to get specific with this, not just blandly throwing out, let's trade back, let's trade up, because the technology is there to do it now. We went to the simulator. We went through the points charts. We did all those things to look at this situation. So first offer, again, comment below if you like it, dislike it. But for our first offer comes from the Atlanta Falcons. So it's Atlanta in the division. They want pick 14 and pick 239, which is the Saints' 7th round pick. The Saints get pick 43 in the 2nd round, pick 74 in the 3rd round, pick 79 in the 3rd round, pick 109 in the 4th round, and their 2025 2nd round pick. So again, it's give up the 1st and 7th round to get an extra 2nd round, 3rd round, or 2 3rd rounds, 4th round, and 2025's 2nd round. How do you like this offer from the Falcons, Andre?
There are 2 issues that I have with this offer from Atlanta. Number one, just to summarize, you're giving the Falcons your 1st round pick, and you're getting back a 2nd, 2/3, a 4th, and a 2nd from next year. But what you're not getting back is another 1st round draft pick. And the Saints are not in a position where I think they can pass on having a 1st round talent, especially considering the needs that they have on the offensive line. There's a need on the defensive line. You could say they need a wide receiver, a tight end, whatever the case. I don't think the Saints can pass on an opportunity to pick somebody in the 1st round who they feel like is at or near the top of their board. That's issue number 1 that I have. And issue number 2 that I have is it's Atlanta.
Yeah, right.
It's the Falcons. You're making a trade. By the way, the Falcons right now have pick 8 in the draft.
Yeah.
So if they were to trade up to 14, they've got 8 and 14.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons, who are in your division, the biggest rival that you have in the entire league. And by the way, the favorites right now to win the NFC South because of the offseason moves that they made, including bringing in quarterback Kirk Cousins. So my issue with it for the Saints, number one, you're giving up a 1st round pick, and you are getting a lot of good picks, but you're not getting a 1st round pick back this year or next year. And your trade ultimately helps your biggest rival. So I'm not crazy about that first one.
Yeah, I'm probably politely declining this offer. Here's why. You mentioned my first reason, and it's this. The Saints don't have a 1st round pick in this scenario. And I'm sorry, you need a 1st round pick in this scenario. And if you're going to go back from 14 all the way to 43, I better have another 1st round pick somewhere. I don't have it anywhere in this offer. Now, in fairness, going back to pick 43, you also have pick 45. You could pick up the phone again and try to trade up, package 43 and 45 to go out. You could probably get somewhere in the teens and 20s. But that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work to trade back, then to trade up, and you got to hope all those pieces line up in the place. So to me, while I do like the idea of a couple third-round picks and a fourth-round pick, because as we've said multiple times, and I will say it again on this podcast, to me, the goal should be for the Saints, try as much as you can or as hard as you can to get 5 picks in the first 150 selections. Right now you have 3, and one of those is pick 150. So if you can get 5, that to me is the ultimate goal. This would give you that, but the problem is the top-end talent of a first-round pick is not there. So thank you for the offer, Atlanta, but I'm politely hanging up the phone, and I'm moving on, and I'm keeping my 14th overall pick if that's the offer. What's the next one?
Next one comes from the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams want pick 14, and they will give you pick 19 in the first round, and they will give you pick 52 in the second round. How about that one?
You know, I like it.
Okay.
I love the simplicity of this offer.
Right.
It's, hey, I'll go back 5 spots, and in exchange for 5 spots, I'll get pick 52, which is 7 picks after my current second-round pick. So the likelihood of the Saints for going back 5 selections and picking up another person that's probably going to be in your top 50 on your board, because pick 52, the likelihood of all 50 of your selections going in the top 50 of the draft are unlikely, so or not good. So it is highly likely if you have picked 19, 45, and 52, you are now getting 3 players in the top 50 on your board. And we have to trust our board, because what are we doing all this work for if we do not trust our board? So while it's a little slim or it's a little simple, I kind of like the simplicity. And look, I would entertain this offer if I was the Saints. 14 back up to 19, you could probably still get a tackle. Plus, you can get a couple of extra top 50 prospects.
I like it as well, and I'll throw in something else. You said you can pick 3 guys who are in your top 50, but as we look at the way the Saints draft picks are set up right now, 1 first, 1 second, no third rounder, no fourth rounder, 4 fifths, 2 sixths, and a 7th. So no picks in the third and the fourth round. If I get an extra pick in the second round, I could maybe move one of those second round picks, something I can't do right now, seeing that I only have 1. But if I get 2, trade one of those and get in the third and fourth round so that you have a bigger quantity of picks. So that's an option that would then be available. And I agree. I mean, a few weeks ago, we talked about a lot of offensive linemen we liked. We talked about Olu Fashanu. We talked about J.C. Latham out of Alabama, Troy Fatanu out of Washington, Taluis Fulga out of Oregon State. Between those 4 guys, who will likely all, if not most of them, be there at 14, I have a hard time to believe all of them would get picked between 14 and 18. Right. So one of those guys who's probably high on your board that you could have got at 14, you can probably still get your guy at 19. And then you've got the versatility of having those 2 second-round picks, whether you want to make both or use them to wheel and deal to get into the third and fourth rounds. I like the abundance of options that making this trade gets you, and you're really not giving up much.
You really aren't. And so just so we're clear, this could be the start of 2 trade backs in this scenario for you.
I'm making multiple trades with this.
You are taking a strong leap of faith with this Saints organization. I'm ready. I'm willing to go 1. I'm not sure if I'm willing to go 2 trade backs in 1 draft, because they haven't done it in like 25 years or something. No, I think it was 07 might have been the last year. So do the math, 17 years. So, but I like that offer. I really do. What's offer number 3? The Buffalo Bills receive pick 14. The Saints receive pick 28, pick 134, pick 200, 2025 first-round pick, and 2025 7th-round pick. So the Bills get your first-round pick, you get their first-round pick, plus a 4th round, a 6th round, next year's 1, and the next year's 7th-round pick. What do you like about this one?
What I like about this one is the 2025 first-round pick. You're getting 2 first-rounders for the price of 1. Now, obviously, you get a 4th rounder. We talked about the gap in the 3rd and the 4th round that the Saints currently have. So you would get a pick to get in that 3rd, 4th round gap. You move back from 14 to 28. Now, it's a little, it's a bigger jump than from 14 to 19 like we just talked about. Those guys that I mentioned may be gone, but can you still get somebody on your board at 28 that you like? Probably. You're still going to fill that gap in the 3rd and the 4th round, and you're getting next year's first. And if I'm looking at Buffalo, they're a team that has lost a lot this offseason. They're a team that lost Stephon Diggs, their number one receiver. They lost Gabe Davis, their number two receiver. And obviously you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen, but is there a certainty that pick's going to be in the 20s? That Buffalo pick next year could actually be a pretty good pick. Just having a good quarterback does not guarantee you'll have a good season. The Chargers have a pretty good quarterback, and they're picking, 5th in the draft this year? So just based off of the first from next year, I get to still stay in the first if I'm the Saints, and I get a first from next year, which I think will come in handy in the long run. I'll take this one.
Yeah, this is one I hope I get the call early when I'm on the clock because I'm going to need some time to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Was it 10 minutes in the first round? Is that what it is? 10 minutes? You're on the clock? Because I'm asking around. I'm thinking because the only thing I don't like about this is dropping from 14 to 28 because sometimes when you drop that far, that late in the first round, you are on your second round graded prospects.
Right.
So you may be getting a first round pick, but it may not be a first round graded prospect. You may have it. Usually the Saints have a thinner first round board, probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 22 prospects. I have no idea what it's going to be this year. That's the only thing I don't like about it, but I love the idea of filling in some holes in your depth this year with that extra pick in the 4th round, plus next year's first round pick. Like you said, that was a great point. Buffalo could be in for a little bit of a dip this year, just because of some of the things they did from a cost cutting standpoint, from a roster standpoint. They got a little old, so this is a little bit of a purging process. Could be a transition year. Could be a good year to kind of take advantage of where they might be in the draft next year. So I am really, really considering this offer if I'm the Saints, because that is quite enticing to just go back 14 spots to get next year's first, plus you add a 4th rounder. The 6th rounder this year, we got a lot of day 3 picks. Maybe we can package that later to go up again. But I think this is a pretty fair offer for the Bills, and I would strongly consider it.
I think the second offer we talked about from the Rams, that was a layup. This one might be a mid-range, a mid-range, right. But I think it's worth the shot. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I like it. I would take the Buffalo pick. Moving on to the last one we've got for you.
There you go.
The most interesting one to me.
Absolutely.
We've been talking about trading away the first round pick, but this last offer comes from the Cincinnati Bengals for pick 45, the Saints' second round pick. The Cincinnati Bengals offering for pick 45, they are offering pick 49 in the second round, pick 80 in the third round, 115 in the fourth, 194 in the sixth, and 224 in the seventh. So to get the Saints' second rounder, the Bengals are willing to give you a second, a third, a fourth, a sixth, and a seventh. Sean, how do you feel about that?
Of all of them, I think this might be the one. I'm going to be honest with you. You normally would think trading back, you think first round, but in this scenario, I keep my 14th overall pick. I've been trying to get 5 picks in the top 150. This now gives me 1, 2, 3, 4. This gives me 5 in the top 50, top 150. I keep my first round pick. If I want to get crazy with pick 194 and one of my other 5th round picks, I can go back up again. If I want to do something else where I can package 3rd and 4th round to go up, if I wanted to at some point, or the 2nd and 3rd round to go up a little higher if I wanted to. Well, maybe not because it's only 4 picks away. But just to slide back 4 spots in the 2nd round and to still get another top 50 prospect, and we want to add some depth in those middle rounds, I got to tell you, man, if this call came, I would accept this offer. I would absolutely accept this offer. I mean, that is all present day draft capital. That's not next year's draft capital, and that is not a steep price to pay to just slide back 4 picks.
Yeah.
And still keep my first round pick. This might be the one. This might be the winner for me, the Bengals offer.
You mentioned needing 10 minutes on the clock when it came to the Buffalo Bills offer. I might need about 10 seconds on the clock to think about this one. I'm moving back in the 2nd round. So in summary, I'm moving back 4 picks, and I'm getting 4 entire picks in return. To fill the gap that we have in the 3rd and 4th round, you're getting a 3rd rounder. You're getting a 4th rounder. Right now, the Saints have 0 picks after 45, between 45 and 150. You'd have 3 if you were to take this Bengals pick. Unless somebody is there at 45 that you just feel like you absolutely need on your roster and you cannot pass on, you got to move back those 4 spots and take the draft capital.
This team needs to get younger. That's what
Exactly.
they need. They need that. I absolutely agree. That'd be nice if you got that offer. I don't know how well, again, we get this a lot from. I did this through the mock draft simulators and looking at the points charts. So we'll see if these types of deals actually come to fruition. But that's a very good offer. If you were ranking, what would you rank yours in these 4 offers? And by the way, there were a lot more. We didn't get to. We didn't want to just keep pounding out numbers to you guys. But there was a lot more offers that were there. But these we felt were the best 4 on the table. If you were ranking them, what would you rank them?
If I were ranking them, I would put the Cincinnati one at number 1, and at a very close number 2, I would put the Los Angeles Rams offer. The Rams getting pick 14, Saints moving back 5 spots to 19, and they also get pick 52 in the second round. The third spot, I'd put the Buffalo offer, where you get the 2 first-rounders for the price of 1. And then last, I'd put the offer that we both said we would politely decline from Atlanta, that would have you trading your first-round pick, not getting one back, and you're giving a first to your biggest rivals.
Can't disagree. I mean, that's the order I had it in, and it was very slight between LA and Buffalo. If Buffalo was a little bit higher this year, I might put that ahead just because of next year's first-round pick. But the simplicity and just where you would get that Rams pick, to me, feels like slightly better than the Buffalo offer. But Cincinnati's number 1 for me because I get the first, second, third, fourth, 4 fifth-round picks. It's 2, well, I guess now 3 6th-round picks and 2 7s. I mean, you've got yourself quite a draft class. Now, you wouldn't necessarily finish with all those picks, as we know, but nonetheless, I think that's a great selection, a great trade. Then the Rams and Buffalo, and I would kindly tell Atlanta, thank you, but no thanks. We are just going to go ahead and keep our 14th overall selection as currently slotted.
I agree. I like the pick, and I really think the Saints should consider this because in the 3 trades that we both liked, I think it makes your team better. It gives you a lot more of an ability to build depth on your roster, and it fills holes in your draft board that right now we don't see an answer for.
Yeah, and we have to point out it hasn't happened in a really long time, a really, really long time. So we both understand that the likelihood of this happening, we are going against some pretty strong history here. In just about every single draft, they went in one direction, and we are totally – we're zigging with it when they always zagged, or whatever the case may be. We went in the total opposite direction of what is in their natural tendency to do. But if there was ever a year based off what you need and the way your draft board is currently set up, this would be the year to strongly consider a trade back. We understand it probably won't happen, but these scenarios, I think those are enticing offers to at least consider it. Let us know what you think in the comments because, look, to me, this is realistic. This is quality offers that the Saints you should be willing to entertain.
And while we're talking about comments, while we're talking about the draft, I mentioned yesterday, I asked you guys to comment under the video. We were talking about, potential people that the Saints could draft in the second round if they were to take Brock Bowers or if they were to take somebody in the first round who wasn't an offensive lineman, which we both agree is their biggest need. One comment from Davion Lawson, 4999. He asks, if Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, and Dallas Turner, the pass rusher from Bama, somehow fall to the Saints at 14, which one are you taking? And that was an interesting question for me because it's kind of need versus need because before all of this Ryan Ramczyk news dropped, we pinpointed the number one need for the Saints as a pass rusher, as a defensive lineman. Now, things have happened since, including the signing of Chase Young and the injury news from Ryan Ramczyk, which kind of pushed offensive tackle at the forefront of that list of needs. But we both like Brock Bowers. We talked about it on Monday. We both think the Saints could still use a pass rusher. So if both of those guys who are expected to be taken before 14 are available for the Saints, which one would you pick?
If it were me, I'm sticking with Brock Bowers. The Saints' hit rate on edge pass rushers in the draft has just been abysmal in the last few years. Now, I know Dallas Turner doesn't necessarily fit that prototype of some past guys of Peyton Turner and Marcus Davenport. So I do think it's not the exact same type of player, type of edge player, but I do think their past kind of run on edge players, given where they currently sit at that position on their roster and recent draft history, the best one they let walk out the door, and Trey Hendrickson. So in that scenario, excuse me, I would consider Dallas Turner. There's no doubt about it. And I would love to add an impact edge playmaker. But given where you stand at that position, you have like 7 or 8 edge pass rushers on your roster right now. And given where you have it, what you have at tight end and the playmaking ability of a tight end to this offense with that style of Brock Bowers' play, I'm still going with Brock Bowers. I would lean more in that direction. And it would be a little bit out of their comfort zone, which I kind of want to see them test this year. I want to see them get a little bit outside of the norm, that what they always do every single year, because after 3 straight mediocre seasons, I think it's time to tweak some approaches a little bit.
If I was looking at this question a month ago, before the Chase Young signing, I would have said, give me Dallas Turner. That's your biggest need. He's the best pass rusher in the draft. That's who I want. But looking at the room now, to me, in the defensive line room, you've got a lot of question marks. And I don't say that in a bad way. Chase Young right now, he's got the neck injury situation going on. He's expected to get that fixed by the end of training camp and be ready for the start of the season. If Chase Young is ready and healthy at the start of the season, he can be a very effective pass rusher. Another question mark, Isaiah Foskey, a guy who we saw in limited playing time last year, but he is a guy you drafted in the second round.
Right.
I'm not ready to give up on Isaiah
We're not giving
Foskey
up on that
and say
yet.
that he's not the guy. We need to go ahead and bring in another guy. You've also got Carl Granderson, someone who was probably one of your 3 best, and there's an argument to say that he was the best player on that defense last year.
Yeah.
He was a solid and consistent guy who was pressuring the quarterback all season. You've got Peyton Turner, a guy you once spent a first-round draft pick on. Now, he hasn't been what the Saints have hoped him to be so far. You've got Tano Passanio, who has stepped in and played good football when he was asked to. But what I say all of that to say is you've got a lot of defensive linemen in that room, and I'm not convinced that room is – obviously, you can always add help, but is that the number one position where you need help today? I don't think it is. But tight end, I think there's less of a question mark in that room. Do you have a tight end right now that you believe can give you elite tight end production? I don't think you do.
Not based off of last season. We've been waiting for a long time.
Exactly. And we talked about it Monday. There's probably only about 5 or 6 guys in the league that you would consider elite tight ends. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, maybe an Evan Ingram. Like, there's not a lot of those guys that you would consider the cream of the crop. Brock Bowers is a guy who's being built up to be one of those guys in the Saints office that we both believe that he would fit pretty well in.
Yeah.
I think if you're choosing between a pass rusher and a tight end, the best tight end in the draft, I take Brock Bowers.
We're agreeing too much, man. We agreed on our list. We agreed on the Brock Bowers debate. We agreed on the tackles. We agreeing way too much, man.
Need some more strife
it's crazy,
on this
man.
podcast.
We need some more disagreement here. But nah, look, I'm right there with you. Just because, I mean, you're stockpiled of edge pass rushers, and somebody's got to emerge. And you don't draft a guy like Isaiah Foskey in the second round to give up after year 1. I mean, you just don't do that. And I think that's the one guy that can really show some. That's the player from last year's draft class that I think can emerge this year as a second-year guy, getting used to everything. And maybe he's a guy we're not thinking of under the radar that could explode, and all of a sudden he's a reason or a catalyst for a potential Saints turnaround. But we'll find all that out once we get into training camp and into the preseason. But first things first, the draft. We are 2 weeks away from the draft, and we had some interesting scenarios. We're going to have more draft talk coming next week. This weekend, enjoy yourself. Enjoy the city of New Orleans. It's a great time of year. Springtime in the city of New Orleans. Before we get out of here, anything else for us today?
Leave those comments like you saw today. We will definitely take one of those comments. We'll talk about it on the show. We might form a whole segment off of it.
It could happen. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Leave those comments. We love them. All right, that'll do it for us. For Andre Johnson Jr., I am Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.